Welcome to episode 5 of the Bewilder Herd podcast or Castlepod. I am your host, Jose. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching this episode. Today I am joined by my lovely two friends, Edgar and Carlos. So if you guys want to really quickly introduce yourselves, go ahead. Carlos, do you start?
I don't know. I don't think we need to introduce ourselves every time because we have such a loyal fan base
Oh, yeah,
that
that's right.
by now they know all about our lives and shit.
That's right. That's correct. That's correct. But just to humor me, let's one more time. Let's introduce ourselves, Carlos.
So my name is Carlos Ordaz. I live in New York. And I live in Upper Manhattan, kind of the last working class enclave in Manhattan that's rapidly changing.
Oh, wow. And I'm assuming it's not changing for the good.
It's a relative thing, right? Good and bad.
That's correct. But it's different now, right? From what people are used to.
Yeah, it's different. It's different, but this whole city has a history of change, right? Like New York it's always been changing and it will continue to change.
Yep. Cool. Thank you, sir. And now Edgar, really quick.
Yo, what's up? I'm Edgar. I'm from Los Angeles, live in LA. Currently training to be a boxer. That's my intro.
All right. Cool.
Did he say he lives in LA?
He did say he lives in LA. No, my friend, you live.
I said I'm from LA. I live in San Diego.
Okay.
No, you said he lives in San Diego.
Yeah, I was like, no, my friend, you do not live in LA.
Did I say that?
You did say that. No, this is San Diego. Our San Diego fans will not like that.
Maybe he thinks north of the 8 is LA.
Yeah? Yeah. Or north of the 54.
Like north of north of Temecula is all LA. Once you get out of Oceanside, everything from there on is like LA.
Yeah. That's a good limit.
That's a good limit, yeah. Always seen it like that. Hey, well, thank you guys again for doing this episode.
Hey, what about you? Who are you?
Oh.
Yeah, what the fuck are you?
I am the host. I am Jose. And today, I will be bringing the topic to the Bewildered Herd.
Oh, shit.
It is my honor today to talk about this topic. And it's going to be a topic and a conversation about food. So without further ado, let's dive into it. I kind of wanted to share how I came up with this topic or why I wanted to talk about this topic. And the reason is, well, number one, I didn't know what to talk about. I didn't know what topic I should discuss. And then I saw that with this new administration coming here in this country, we're going to have, I think it's he's the FDA, the new FDA person in charge, or CDC, one of those two. I should know this, but he is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. RFK.
CDC.
Right? CDC, right?
CDC, right?
CDC,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. We have access to fucking
the internet.
World Web.
I know. Why not? Yeah, and so I got a video online, and in this video he talks about food. He talks about the many ingredients and the toxins that our foods have. And we've heard it a lot of from many people, from many experts, many nutritionists. But something kind of struck a chord with me this time. And it wasn't because it was him, but I think it's because I'm getting older. And I've been noticing in my body that the food that I've been putting in hasn't been making me feel like well, you know? Like the way I used to eat, I don't think it's sustainable no more. And it's not that I feel really sick or but it's just I just don't. I feel heavy. I can feel bloated at times. I can feel kind of nasty almost. If I could describe a color, I would describe it as dark. At the end of last year, I actually began a little fast where I only drank water and nothing else. And man, like just 2-3 days of water, just pure water, like I felt so alive, so like almost strong, so awake. Like I noticed that
Wait, you did a fast?
yeah, well, yeah, like I stopped drinking soda and I drank but I replaced it with water, right? Just
But you were eating though.
oh yeah.
Oh,
Like a
okay,
water,
okay, okay.
I guess soda fast. I
Oh,
guess you
so
can say that.
liquid fasting, like just drinking water.
Yeah. And so like I could tell that my body like felt different. And so when I saw that this video on YouTube of RFK saying like of all the toxins that are in our food, it just made me think like how safe is our food? And so I kind of wanted to start the discussion with you guys like what have you guys like learned over the years about food and about um and about like what's in it and I'm of the thought of that no food out there is free of contaminants and toxins. I think there's so many chemicals out there that all of our food is contaminated. But I don't know. You guys have been exposed more to the more healthy healthy options. So is all the food toxic, or are there some good alternatives that we can still eat so we can go against the norm of processed foods and whatnot? So that's kind of like one of the first topics I kind of wanted to talk about. And then the second one is I noticed that I'm gonna hit 40. My metabolism is gonna probably change, and I realized like I want to change how I eat. So I kind of wanted to see what you guys recommend. How do we go about a change in terms of our diet? Not to lose weight or anything, but just to change how we think about food and how we eat and what we eat. So
So if I could ask, if not to lose weight, then why the change? Like, why do you want to eat healthier, or what do you think
because
is healthier?
well, it's to really eat food, to eat the food that gives us the nutrients that we need to survive every single day. In other words, I want to be more conscious about what we're eating. I want to make sure that what I'm putting into my body would build a strong body or a healthy body that would be able to sustain me into an old age,
Oh,
right?
okay, yeah, I see what you're
Like
saying.
that.
Yeah,
It,
yeah. If you keep the route you're going,
yeah,
it feels good
exactly.
right now, right? It's like fucking
Right.
delicious hamburger, but then you're gonna pay for it later.
Yeah, and if I must confess, I mean, you guys probably already know. I mean, I'm still eating like when we were in college and in high school, and now I'm telling you, like it's not. Once upon a time, it was good. It's so funny. My dad has this theory. He has always told me, he's like, as long as you exercise and you can eat whatever you want. But I've noticed it's like, no, that's not true. Like it matters what you eat, and so I want to start a conversation by just asking you today about food in today's society. Like, and I think we know the answer, but I just wanted to hear from you guys. Like, do we have toxins in our food supply today? And if
Yes.
so,
Yes.
yes. And if so,
Do you want to
like,
know what the main one is?
sure. Let's start with that.
Sugar.
Sugar. Why would you consider sugar a toxin? Isn't that something we
Because it's
need?
not natural.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I mean, bees
so,
make it.
huh?
Bees make sugar.
Go get it from the bees.
No thanks.
How did our ancient ancestors get it? That shit, like they must have
I
teamed
mean,
up.
that's badass, right? But that's, I mean, what you're saying, what our ancestors used to do. Like they used to put their skin on the line. They used to make some fucking rope, climb the fucking rope, stun the bees somehow with smoke, risk their ass, get the honey, and go back to the village, right? But to do
Exactly.
that, they exerted a lot of energy,
Exactly. Yeah.
and
Same
they
with
couldn't be
like if
doing
I
that
have,
all day.
yeah, same if I want to get something that has sugar naturally, like an orange. It's like fuck, I gotta climb the tree to go get it. All right, or we gotta shake that shit, or like it was
Something.
rare to. That's why we are programmed to like sugar because it was so rare back then that like if you saw it, you're like fuck yeah, like let me go get it. It was like a survival mechanism. So if we carry that shit to today, where we like crave sugar and whatnot.
I mean, when you're saying now and about honey reminds me of what we were discussing tangentially last time of how Luigi Mangione or something, how he referenced Industrial Society and Its Future by Theodore Kaczynski. And in that manifesto by Theodore Kaczynski, he comes up with this idea of a power process, which is essentially you, human, making up your mind to do something and doing it with your own intellectual and physical capacities. And in today's world, we really don't need to go through that, right? Like, we're not climbing the tree to get the oranges, and we're not putting something on fire to stun the bees. We can consume things, right? And they're readily available. So I think because we live in a society that values that, I think that's where the other toxins come in. Because you have really smart scientists trying to come up with combinations of salt, sugar, and fat that'll hijack your brain and make you dependent on that product. Because at the end of the day, the corporation selling it to you is interested in its bottom line, which is to make a profit.
So are you saying that they're doing this, and I guess in a way, from what I'm understanding, is that they're trying to make us addicted to these foods through those
They don't.
chemicals?
Yeah, I mean they don't have to. You're naturally addicted to sugar because of what I had mentioned. That it was so rare back then that like you're programmed to want it. So they've realized that like, oh, as long as I put more sugar into my content, even like fruit, dude, like some fruit has been shown to be injected with like extra sugar, so
Oh wow.
you get that one instead of like the
Okay.
natural tasting one.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we talk about McDonald's, right? Which I seldom consume, but when I do, I go for the breakfast because it just makes me nostalgic for, growing up with my family and going there. I think there's like 2 or 3 ingredients that don't have sugar. Everything else, sugar.
Do you guys know why that is?
To make money, because we're fucking addicted to it.
Yeah, but so it wasn't like that before. So okay, I highly recommend this book. It's called the Obesity Code, and basically this doctor that treats people with diabetes, he just got tired of treating people. He's like, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm a doctor, and all I do is like treat the problem with like more drugs, but it's better if we spend time on the preventative side. So he went on like a fucking crazy research of how we got here, and there's a chapter that talks about how did we make the shift from natural foods to sugar? And this happened in the 1960s, 70s, where basically before they used to believe in like 3 meals. Like if you watch like old shows and whatnot, like they even in the shows they talk about like, oh, you can't eat like snacks or else you're gonna ruin your supper, right? So they only had 3 meals a day, and it was all like natural food. And this is like the upper white middle class or whatnot, right? But the rest of society was the poverty was very high, and hunger throughout the U.S. was very high. For like a developed country, it was almost embarrassing. So what the government did during that time, they incentivized companies to mass produce something that's a lot easier that you could just like feed everyone. And hence the crop industry shifted from like just foods to the most easiest crop you can grow, which is corn. And then hence like corn syrup came about, and now you could just make fucking anything with corn syrup, cereal, like just think like processed foods, right? So after that time, like the government actively was giving grants to these farmers to grow this shit, and then like the big ass companies, Kellogg's and all those like came about, and then that just became the norm. Like the hunger problem went away. Nobody's hungry in America. It's like the if you look at like what countries are the most hungry, whatever, America doesn't have that problem. But now we have the opposite problem where it's so easy to eat that stuff and so mass produced that it causes obesity, it causes like all kinds of other problems. So that shift happened to get rid of a problem, but it caused another problem. And now, like Carlos said, like all these companies that had these grants or whatever, they're the ones in charge, and yeah, all they care about is bottom line. They don't care about your health. So the sugar problem is so prevalent, and it's just been like that since the 60s.
What do you guys think about other toxins aside from sugar? Like or is that sugar, like red number 40 or something like that? And
Yeah, there's preservative. I mean,
like
they
the
put
dyes.
preservatives and all that shit, like in all just processed foods in general, dude, is bad.
Okay, I
They
mean,
recommend like when you go to a grocery store, do not go into any of the middle aisles. Just go around the store
that's interesting.
when
And
you're
that,
shopping.
and,
Yeah.
so that's funny. So one would say, don't eat processed food. No, duh, right? Because I think over the last 15, almost 20 years, I think they've been pushing that a lot, right? Like at the same time, there's been like a movement of people saying no process, no process. I feel like everything now is some sort of processed food, even what we call healthy, right? I mean, I heard of those, the new diets that come about, right? The plant based, the keto, the low carb, you know, like some of the foods that they recommend for them, like it's still processed, right? And then I also was reading that, like, even for diabetics, sometimes, like, there's certain foods they recommend, right? Certain sugars that they recommend, sweeteners, right? But that's heavily processed too. So my question is, like, I was thinking about this. I'm like, so what isn't processed? Like, and you mean Edgar just said, right? Sometimes even with some fruits they inject extra.
What does that say?
Okay, diet soda. Okay, fine. Diet soda is.
So
Don't go
that this
against diet
chapter is
soda.
all about sweeteners. Exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, but so I guess my question is, what isn't processed? Like
And I just want to say you're right, Hoser. Like the the ones that they sell as healthy, like Jamba Juice,
right,
Diet Soda, like those shits are not healthy, dude.
right.
Hey, Nutella, like they all have this like healthier connotation, and it gives you false. Honestly, dude, they should be sued for that. Like they give you this false sense of security that you're thinking you're eating something healthier, but
hmm
dude, it is not.
And so, like, I started thinking, if you really want me to start eating healthy, what are my options if everything has some sort of tech chemical or whatnot? Like RFK was saying that, like, oh, we're gonna tackle all these companies to stop putting all these chemicals in our foods. And I mean, he links it to some diseases. I don't know how much of the evidence is there, but what I'm what I was thinking is, like, okay, fine, like that's cool. There's policy for that. Let's do that. But are we going to be able to remove all those chemicals, all those nasty toxins?
This is out of my wheelhouse, right? Like, I'm not an expert in these things, but you mentioned something that, like, these ideas have been pushed for around 20 years, right? And there's a documentary, I think it's made by Mark uh, Akbar. And this is a guy who made pretty influential documentaries, in my opinion. Like, he made one on manufacturing consent, which is where I got that the bewildered herd. He made another one called Food Inc.,
Oh,
which
okay.
is where, like, back in college I saw it and started realizing, like, that's where that after that documentary was when you started having labels on milk cartons that said that cows weren't treated with RBST, because during his investigation, like, he found that it produced mucus in the cow's nipples, and that
Mm-hmm.
mucus was being injected in the milk that we drink.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty broken. And then he also made a documentary called The Corporation, which I also highly recommend. But, Food Inc. But yeah, going back to the toxins, like, and naming a specific toxin, like, I wouldn't know, right? I do know that the way that meat in particular is produced and processed is very toxic for the environment as a whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you just think about Brazil, like, they are literally burning down the Amazon to make way for cattle grazing lands, you know? And Brazil is a big exporter of beef, right? And so set that aside, that we're cutting down the lungs of the earth literally to make way for more meat. Here in the United States too, like, industrial meat production is just pretty toxic for the environment. You have issues with water quality. Like, they literally take the pig shit and, like, it somehow ends up in, like, freshwater rivers and lakes that people drink, and then they get sick. And so, I would just kind of connect this back to this mindset that we have of just, like, making a buck no matter the costs, right? Those are externalities, right? In what an economist would say, that
Mm-hmm.
are too high a price to pay, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to a TED talk yesterday, and they were saying about how the companies are really pushing us to consume more meat. Once upon a time, kind of like Edgar said, like, they needed more meat, more beef because it was cheaper to make because of the hunger situation, right? But I mean, I didn't know there was a hunger situation, but like they wanted people to consume meat because people needed it. But we got to a point when it wasn't needed anymore. But they continued, and she was making the argument how like if we just reduce our meat consumption, like I think 10%, like the climate would improve.
Did you guys know that the number one contributor to climate change is literally fucking cows by a lot?
You know, I heard it, but I was like, yeah,
It's
sure,
like
but
their gas, like when they fart and burp and stuff,
yeah,
and the poop that they produce. That's the number one contributor to climate change.
It's methane, right? They release a lot of methane, and methane is a really powerful greenhouse gas.
I'm gonna go to the wastewater.
I don't know if that would be like the number one cause of our greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah,
I would actually tack it on the military. I would tack it on the military industrial complex and their consumption of fossil fuels and how much fossil fuels they consume. You know, it takes energy to make shit. It takes energy to deploy your troops, and then it takes energy to make war, right? And the common link of that energy that the military uses is fossil fuels, because we're not at the nuclear stage yet where we could use nuclear power to make shit or move shit around or.
but either way, like this was said, it's bad for the environment, right? It's bad for you. It's bad for the environment.
And so like okay, so for the last like what 15-20 minutes I think we kind of have a consensus about the food that we eat today is toxic. It does harm, right?
But we need to be really specific of what food that is, right? And I think Edgar was getting at that it's heavily processed foods, right?
Heavily
No,
processed
but
foods.
not only that, but then Hoser brought up the like, well, I'm trying to eat healthier, but then like, what the fuck is healthy? Like, there's confusion even about that because like they sell you shit that is labeled keto friendly or healthy, and even that stuff is not healthy, right? So even for someone that's trying to change, it's hard for them too because of we're all talking about like the bottom line, dude, right? That's all that matters, and even that is hard.
I mean, that recommendation you gave about the perimeter of the store, like, yeah, I've heard that too before, and that's where you tend to get more ingredients that are whole and less processed, right? And then Hoser asked the question, well, what isn't processed? Well, if you pick a mango from a tree, that's not processed,
Even
right?
that, like, it could have pesticides, right? Like,
I mean, if it's a tree in the wild.
yeah, it's to be honest, Hoser, like in America, nothing is untouched. Like everything's gonna have.
Okay, there's farmers markets. There's farmers markets, and maybe they offer a basket, and maybe those farmers markets source their produce from local farmers that claim to be pesticide free. Maybe you could get stuff like that, but you need to actively seek for it, and in doing so, you have to go against the grain because you have to invest your time and energy to get that.
It's expensive too.
Yeah, it's expensive.
But and see, like I was thinking about it yesterday. I was like, yeah, it is gonna be expensive, but I almost feel like that's the price you have to pay to go against what they're selling you, right? Against what they want you to consume. It does suck, but in a way, it's kind of like that's why we're calling this podcast the bewildered herd, right? Yeah. Like if the theory is if we're in the part of a bewildered herd, in reality, what we want to do is we want to turn around and be like, nope, the herd's going this way, I'm gonna go that way, and I think it's gonna cost more, but I think maybe it's worth it for your longevity and just for your health. So
let's touch on that a little bit. Yeah. I think you make a good point because maybe you pay a little bit more now, but in the long run, it will save you a lot on the like fucking medical bills that you're gonna pay later, right?
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing I was reading yesterday was that kind of going to what Carlos was saying about how they add all these like fats and how a lab can create all these fats, all these other kind of like ingredients that go into our foods. I was reading how they kind of make it kind of in a way addictive, so we would want to consume more and more of that. And I can tell you, like, I came to a weird realization recently that I can't break the desire to eat fast food. Like a lot of things I was able to break, but that one I'm like, oh wow, it still stayed there. I didn't pay attention to it because it was food, right? But in a way, I was like, if I really try to stop it and literally eat healthy, or not healthy, but at least real meals, there's still an itch of me that wants it, right? And so, in a way, I kind of started paying attention to that, and I'm like, man, that's scary. And then to hear from like this TED talk that, that's on purpose. That there's actually it wasn't a TED talk. It was a clip from Dr. Huberman. I don't know if you guys have seen that podcast, Huberman Labs. He brought in a guest where she was saying that they just want you to consume more. Like you eat it, the ultra processed food, and you just want to keep going more and more and more. And it's like, man, that's scary.
It's scary, dude. Like you're actively trying not to, but like even the smell or like the thought like makes you go get it. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
powerful, man. That's crazy.
Like I'll confess another thing. Like recently, I've been I've been thinking like, say I get like the munchies or hungry, right? And I've noticed that I think about how a burger used to taste, like almost like back when we were in college, right? I'm like, oh, when the California burrito was still new, it's like, ooh. And then that that thought brings me into the decision of, well, let me go buy a burrito, for example. Then I buy it and it tasted nothing like I imagined it. Nothing like it. So that's another topic, like how even the processed food, like when we used to be like in college, I believe it tasted different from how it tastes now, which then makes me think like if it does taste different, then how much less of a quality it is than how it was already, right?
Maybe you just got used to the dose and to the hit.
Yeah.
And like maybe you need something like you don't need, but maybe they would come up with something that has more salt and more fat and more sugar, and you'll be like, this is what I'm talking about.
Well, that's what coffee was. Like coffee for the longest time was, and it still is sometimes, my replacement for like chocolate or maybe even alcohol. It was so cool to hang out and be like, hey, what's up, bro, with your little pint. But then I said, no more. But now I go, I'm in a different setting, but with a coffee mug, a coffee cup. So it's like, it's the same thing, right? There's, I just replace one thing with the other. They're still both full of sugar,
I was gonna say that like coffee in itself is not bad, but if you add a lot of sugar to it, then yeah, it's the same as
And coffee's a drug. Coffee's
Yeah.
a drug. It makes you dependent on it.
Yeah.
Eliminate the sugar, it still makes you dependent on it.
the coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's benefits to it.
For sure.
Now that we're speaking about coffee, one of the typical things that happens in this country, right, is I think common daily life is you wake up, I'm tired, get coffee, drink my cup of coffee. And what we want to wake up and be alert and be ready for whatever's next, right? What I've noticed personally is that if I wake up and I just drink a whole bottle of water, I'm awake. In like the next 5 minutes, I'm already awake, ready to go. I didn't need that caffeine hit. I didn't need that coffee from Starbucks. And I'm like, what? Like to be awake and alert, right?
Yeah, dude, you make a good point, man. I do see the issue that I have with coffee, because yeah, you're right. Like I wake up and I'm like, fuck, I need coffee, right?
Yeah,
That's a very American thing. Is like,
it is.
oh, you need to wake up here, have a drug, coffee. Oh, you're feeling depressed, here's a drug, take a sertraline. Oh, you whatever, like here's a fucking like drug for everything. But in high school, let me just finish with this thought. In high school, I wasn't drinking coffee, right? And I was part of the soccer team, varsity. So they were very like competitive, and they had morning training sessions. So I had to wake up at fucking 6 a.m. and like do sprints and like crazy fucking workout. Dude, I was so fucking like, like awake and like. So I imagine that's what our ancestors used to do, is like wake up and like fucking do your daily chores, and like that shit was enough to wake your ass up. Not a like, here you go, here's a drug. Sorry, Carlos, I cut you off.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say like, yeah, what you were saying about us being medicated, like, yeah, that goes through the line, right? Like, instead of like looking forward to having coffee to help us wake up, what we need to do is figure out how to sleep better. And sleep also heavily influences our metabolism. So if you're not getting enough sleep and if you're not eating the right things, then your metabolism is probably going haywire, you know? And what's the solution that Edgar said? Have some more drugs. Now they have some drugs I've seen advertised on the subway over here that's like you get some shots
Yeah,
and you lose
Ozempic,
weight. Yeah. And I'm like,
dude.
whoa.
That is something trippy, man. Because that's a that I was listening, I was reading about it. It stops you from being hungry, and so that's why people lose weight because you just don't want to eat, and so you're like, oh, okay.
That just sounds not healthy.
But it's not. But like I think my wife was telling me, like once you use it, like you can't get out of it, and then that's a diabetic medicine, and non-diabetics are using it. So that's even super scary, you know?
Just because, see, wait, like, this thing comes full circle. Like, imagine the capitalism would collapse if people were healthy. You know how many industries get fueled by us eating crap? Like, first of all, the fast food makes money, right? The processed food makes money, but then all the issues it causes also makes a lot of money. Healthcare, fucking like it's the whole thing is like connected, dude.
I mean, you could apply that same logic to another arena like drugs and the criminalization of certain drugs over other, right? This creates this whole industry, right? You have privatized jail, you have privatized security guards, you have companies that provide the uniforms, that provide the meals. Incidentally, when I was arrested here many years ago, I recognized the little orange juice cartons that I used to get in high school in jail. And I was like, oh, this same orange juice I got in high school.
You know, we know how a lot of these foods, these processed foods, are very toxic to us. They can be addictive, but I think it also has like kind of like a weird cultural uh kind of influence. And I think it varies from place to place. Like for example, with coffee, right? I think it's a basic, common routine for the blue collar or the your typical average American worker to wake up, brew his or her coffee, and get ready and go to work. But I remember like in Mexico, like my aunts and my uncles, like they would drink coffee, sure in the morning, but a lot in the evening. Like it was kind of like, oh, to have a conversation, oh, make me my coffee, and then they would go sleep. And I always thought that was weird. How I was like, wait a minute, I thought coffee is supposed to wake you up, not make you go back to sleep. You know?
You build a tolerance. You build a tolerance, right? Like any other drug.
Right. But I think it also is kind of like how they sell the food, right? Like when you see a Folgers commercial, it's like, oh, to wake up. But if you see a Nescafe, it's like, oh, to eat, to go and sit down and have a conversation with your friends. You see what I'm saying? Like it's just it's interesting just how they're pushing those types of food, the food that they sell today. And I think overall, I think we can go on and on and on and on and discuss about these, about the topic about food. And I know we're not experts and to know the details in the science about all these toxins and all these nasty things in our foods. But one thing I do want to know, and I kind of wanted to kind of get your opinion about this, is how do you guys, knowing all this about food, how it's not healthy, it's like there's dangers in these foods. How have you guys changed your way of thinking about food and how you eat? Because I mean, you guys are. I mean, you read the obesity code. Carlos has always been pretty kind of aware about like corporations and how they influence food and not. So how has knowing that changed your way you think about food, and how has it changed your way of eating?
Yeah.
So how we relate to food?
Yeah, I mean, well, not just relate, but like, how do you think about food now? Like, do you see, oh no, ugh, gross, this is a high ultra processed, or you're like, yeah, but this is not for me. Or what do you think whenever you see a Big Mac, a double Whopper, or something like that, or just chicken nuggets in the freezer?
I mean, I think, dude, I'm addicted. Just like you said, the McDonald's thing. Like, even though I told you guys in the beginning, I'm preparing for a boxing match, and like it's in my best interest to give up sugar and candy, and I vowed to do that. I can't, man. Like, fucking I break my cycle every like I just like, oh my god, I can't, dude. Like I have to go get fucking candy right now, and I go buy it. I still eat McDonald's. Like it's just the reality we live in. It, we live in this society, and you can't escape it. So you're gonna fall to it every once in a while. But I would
Mm-hmm.
say like, as long as you actively try it to avoid it as much as you can, and don't make it like a daily habit, but your daily habit should be the good stuff. And then if every once in a while you fall for it, was, I mean, it's hard, right? Like it's okay. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, what helps, Hoser, is I read this book because I wanted a goal of like losing weight, so I needed something to help me, and that's how I ended up reading it. But honestly, like the goal of having this boxing match is like my number one priority. So to help me combat my cravings, like I just think about, being like, getting my hand raised, and having that goal of like losing weight or whatnot. And it was always like that when I played soccer too. Like I wanted to be the best, and like I need to really apply myself. But every once in a while, I'd fall to like, fuck, I just have to have a burger, and that's okay. But honestly, like having a goal in your head and visualizing that helps a lot. And for me, it's either boxing or soccer. But for you, it has to be something meaningful to you that you want to like actively change the way you eat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, Carlos.
I mean, for me, I'm the same. Like, I grew up with my family going to McDonald's for breakfast, and if I pass by a McDonald's during breakfast times, I always get the temptation to go and have McDonald's, right? I fucking salivate, dude. I literally salivate like a wild dog in those experiments that people did, whatever, fucking psychologist. And yeah, I think every once in a while, like, I don't know, maybe once every 3 months, I have breakfast at McDonald's and I like it. It tastes really good. It tastes really good because I don't have it that often. But now I'm starting to realize that the nutritional content that it gives me is really empty.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I had a torta, which is like a Mexican sandwich, recently, and I felt like I ate cardboard. Like that's how my stomach felt like. It was just like, what is this? Like it's just like empty.
Yeah.
And this is because I've been experimenting recently, like the past month and a half or so, maybe more, 2 months, with like a meal plan, right? And that's why when you were saying, oh, how do I change? I was pointing to myself
Mm-hmm.
because I have offered to help you guys develop
Yeah.
a meal plan
Yeah.
using artificial intelligence to meet whatever goals you have, right? And I found that I'm still in the process of learning to eat. This is how I look at myself. And I feel different, right? With this meal plan, I feel like I have more energy. I'm more alert. I don't have a food coma. I'm eating more meals, but they're smaller. And after every meal, I'm not fully satiated. I'm still a little hungry. And so I'm looking forward to the next meal. And then every time I have the next meal, it's like my body's like, oh, thank you. And it just like takes it and like, and it feels nutritious. And, it's mostly whole ingredients. But I do have a lot of processed foods in it, mainly tofu and tempeh. But everything else is just like vegetables that are in season with grains that are not so processed, and yogurt, Greek yogurt, which is processed but not as heavily processed. And yeah, like I said, it's just like willing to experiment on yourself, trying to be mindful of how you feel during, after, and in general, and the changes, right? Like recently, I went on a trip to Mexico, and over there, I was eating everything, right? Because, fucking Mexican food is good. But after every meal, I would feel like, "Whoa," like really full, right? Like I needed a fucking wheelbarrow to help me carry my belly. Tastes really good though.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's being willing to experiment on yourself. For me, was the first step to visualize myself as my own guinea pig and to observe how I felt after the meals, during the meals, etc.
Yeah, and the food could be really good too. Like I can recreate that smell of making me salivate. What I did is I bought a grill, pinche propane grill, dude. And I use that a lot. Like that is probably the thing I use the most. and you just put like pinche salmon or chicken or carne asada, some fish in there, dude. The smell is, oh man, it smells so good. And then you eat it, and it's fuck yeah, that's just super good. And it's really easy, man. That shit cooks like in pinche 10 minutes. It's done. And, oh, I put vegetables in there too. I grill my vegetables. Yeah, está pinche healthy meal. Grilled zucchini with some fucking grilled chicken. Oof, delicious, dude. 10 minutes. Get a grill, dude.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Better yet, invite yourself over to Edgar's. Ask him if he's cooking.
I know, right?
Yeah, fuck, cállate, güey. We'll eat some fucking.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks. Thanks for the invite.
Está buena, güey. It's like it tastes really good, and the smell like just smells good.
One of the common theme that I hear from both of you though is that, like, for example, Edgar's like, I fall into it, but he stands up the next day and tries to go against the current, instead of saying, oh no, I got addicted, and he just kind of goes with the flow of that addiction and temptation. He kind of fights back and goes the other way. With Carlos, he's like, yeah, okay, meal plan, but whole. You stick with your whole grain. Sure, there's processed, but it's like, oh, okay, whole foods here, whole food there. And so I guess one of my last questions for you guys is what inside of you makes you say, no, I'm not gonna go for, like, if it's rice, like, why just random jasmine white rice, and say, no, I want wheat, like whole grain rice. Like, what makes you go for that decision?
Do you have a weight scale, Hoser?
Yes.
Do you like step on it every day?
Okay. Yes.
That could be
no.
questionably healthy or not, right? Depending on how you approach it, that could be either positive or negative, right? So that's ambiguous. That's like a big gray area. I think the better response, in my opinion, is like, let's go back to the name of this podcast, The Bewildered Herd. We're part of a big bewildered herd. Naturally, myself, I like to be different. I like to distinguish myself in as many ways as I can from other people, right? And so if the herd thing to do is to be mindless and go for what's easy, what's not healthy for you, what's most lucrative, what is more devoid of nutritional value, then my instinct is to give that a middle finger, right? And so that's why I haven't been drinking soda regularly for years. Years I haven't been drinking soda because to me, like, if you want to think of the devil, it's Coca-Cola, right? And so it's politically and health motivated, right? We mentioned some episodes ago that it's almost like you're standing up to the status quo by deciding to be healthy and in shape. Because the way our consumerist society is structured is to end up like the end of Wall-E, right? Like those human figures were like in this chair and like everything is super convenient and they can't do anything for themselves. Going against that, in my opinion, is like challenging the system, the status quo. So that's just another added incentive that I get, right?
He made a good point, Jose. Yeah, don't even have that stuff in your fridge. Like when you open it and you're looking for options, it's like, well, fuck, these are the options I have to eat. Like, don't have soda there. Don't have chicken. What would you say? Chicken nuggets? Like, don't have that shit. Replace it with other things. And so yeah, that's another one. And then the other one is don't go when you go shopping. Don't go hungry because you're gonna make bad choices.
Yeah, I've made that mistake. Constantly do that mistake. I go hungry and I
yeah, you're gonna buy fucking chips.
Last year,
you have them in your fucking thing.
Dude, last year, like, another confession. I went in there hungry, and Leslie was gonna she was gonna make food for me and everything, and I was like, yeah, I'm like, cool. And she was like, oh, just go grab a bread. I was like, okay. And we like a French bread from the bakery, and I smelled the fried chicken, and I bought 8 pieces of fried chicken. And when I got home, I was like, why did I buy chicken? I was like, why did I buy the chicken? And then I felt bad. I was like, well, I gotta eat some of it. But I both like wasted money, right? And 2, forcing myself to eat the chicken because I bought the chicken. Like, I could feel like, oh, my arteries, like I didn't feel well. You know what I mean? And then Leslie's like, why did you buy chicken? I was like, I don't know. Like, I literally said, I don't know. But it caught me. It caught me. And it's it wasn't a fun thing. Yeah, the last few months I've been kind of like being more mindful about food, and it just like really thinking a lot about it. And I think one of the things, Edgar, I think you also keep pointing out is like you need to kind of have a goal, right?
Yeah, that was the point I was trying to make with my, because I could pull it up right now. I have a weight tracker, um, and I have certain goals, right? So you asked me like, how do I, when I go to the restaurant, how do I say, well, hold off on the rice? I weigh myself every day, and it's like, oh shit, dude, I'm not on my target. So like today, I really have to like, tamper
Mm-hmm.
down and make healthy choices.
Yeah, so I would like to offer both of you my services to help you, in your relationship to food,
Oh,
especially Edgar, man. He does crazy. He's doing like old school boxer shit. Like, dude,
yeah.
Hey, it's
you need a
working, man,
fucking,
dude. I'm like, I'm about to hit the 150s, which I haven't done in like fucking 10 years. So I'm very.
but is it sustainable?
No, it's not. No. I think once
See,
I get
like,
to, yeah, it's because I'm fasting too much like that. I'm fasting, which is the next thing I'm gonna bring up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, once I hit that goal, then I should normalize and like eat. I mean, I'm eating healthy. That's for sure. But I'm just not eating often enough. I'm fasting too much.
So then, Carlos, you're doing a lot of the meal prep stuff, right?
right.
Um. So, and you said that's helped you. Like how has that helped you? Like just to be able to not think about food so much,
But
or
you have it ready, dude. Like it's very. It's good if you're hungry, man. You're gonna go make bad choices. Wait, you're not gonna want to cook your fucking food and shit.
Yeah. I mean, what I do is like, I cook in bulk, right? So I cook like twice a week. And those two times I cook, I try to make enough food for 3 days. And I divide everything I cook into thirds, into Tupperware. And so it also saves me time. You just grab a Tupperware and it's ready to eat. Yeah. And so I also feel more independent, right? And the snacks I have in my fridge are healthy. Like right now, I'm starting to feel hungry. I'm probably going to get some Greek yogurt with some fruit and almonds. And I know the portion size now, right? Like I know what a cup of Greek yogurt is because I've used the cup thing so many times. So it's just like it's like 3 big spoonfuls of Greek yogurt. Scatter some almonds there, add an apple, and you know.
so what about you, Edgar? How's fasting? Like how has that helped you
Okay,
with?
so far we've been talking about what to eat, right? So the thing that shocked me the most about this book is not just what to eat, but when to eat. I didn't even think about that shit. So like I mentioned in the 60s and prior to that, they really, really like had this only do 3 meals a day, no snacking. Um and yeah, so like it's more in tune with our natural way of life. We were never meant to eat like that much, dude. Like can you imagine un pinche Homo sapien like fucking snacking on shit while he's like fucking just like dude, they didn't do that shit. I mean sometimes they could go a day without eating. And that's why our body built this fucking cool mechanism of every time you eat, some of it gets stored. You don't use all of it. Some of it gets stored in case you don't eat that day because it was not only was it possible, it happened. Like there was days where maybe you didn't eat and you could survive off of your fat. Some people will go their whole life without ever triggering that natural mechanism that we have. Some people will never like have that I forget what it's called, but like your body starts breaking down your own fat to feed you so that you don't starve. And that's a very natural mechanism that we have, and some people could go their whole life without ever using it. Um so the fasting thing, yeah, so it's called intermittent fasting. It's very healthy, completely goes against like the American system of the food pyramid or whatever, like they tell you to snack and eat very often. Like, nah, it goes completely against that. Um, it's very common in Eastern cultures to fast. Ramadan is coming up. Everybody else does it except the U.S.
Yeah, actually, I mean even biblically,
Yeah, even biblically,
fasting is very
it's been around
common.
for thousands of years, dude. It's nothing new.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, I'm super used to it. Like, I can go up to like 2-3 days without eating. Um, So I mean that's kind of crazy. Like I don't recommend that.
yeah.
If you wanted to do it, you just
Do
start with skipping one meal.
Do you think that's hindered how you enjoy food or how you
No, if
enjoy
anything,
meals?
I enjoy food more. It's like I look
Okay.
forward to my meal. It's so tasty. Um, yeah, I just think we eat too much, man. We
Yeah.
eat way too much.
I think that's another point. Yeah, I think it's like for
That's
everything.
another thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
going back to my meal plans, like the portions they tell me to eat are small. And like my goal is to maintain my weight. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's another thing I learned. I'm like, well, I've been eating like an animal, like there's no tomorrow.
If you eat healthy, you can eat some like big ass meals, dude. Like they'll get you so full, and it doesn't have that many like calories as if you like if you drink a soda, like that shit has so many calories, and like you feel like crap, and you don't feel full. But if you eat a healthy meal, dude, you're gonna feel so full, and it's like you'll be surprised. It's like, that shit wasn't even that many calories, to be honest.
I think it's very important for me personally, as someone who doesn't follow any of these things. I've heard it. I've heard it a lot. I read it. Like when you go, like on YouTube or Instagram, every 1st of January, you look at like, oh, what are good foods? Everyone wants to give you their opinion, right? But I think like as an unhealthy man, like people who don't look like you, who are super ripped and super buff, I'm not gonna listen to what you're telling me. But I feel that when it's someone who you work with alongside and who is doing like these things, like, hey, a meal prep, this helps. It's helped me maintain my weight. Just that, you know. I think that to me is more valuable. That advice is more valuable than what we read even on Men's Health, for example, right? And I think we need more people to know about these things and to just be a little bit knowledgeable about, yeah, food is toxic right now, but there's ways to kind of combat it, combat that toxicity. And
I
so,
mean, and then taking it back to the very first episode, when Edgar said that he kind of agreed with Walter Lippmann about us being a bewildered herd and having the need for a specialized class to essentially make decisions over our community affairs. I mean, that I relate that to what you're saying right now, right?
mm-hmm,
A lot of us don't have the time.
yeah,
Time for what? Time to think of how to relate to food, time to think of what healthy choices to make when you've been living this way your whole life. You have
yeah,
so much inertia, and it's so easy to just keep doing what you're doing that, we continue to
yeah.
be.
I mean, think about it. I'm almost 40, and I'm barely like saying like, huh, like I guess I should think about this a little bit, a little bit more deeper.
See, when it goes hand in hand with the exercise and sleep too. Like, if you don't make healthy choices on that, like that shit affects your stress and mood to make even worse and worse choices. Like, it's all connected, dude.
Yeah,
To be honest.
But it's an ongoing journey, and it's
that's
not about
important.
getting to a destination, but it's a journey, and
Exactly. Yeah.
the journey is worthwhile.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah,
Yeah, like I told you
I
my
agree.
boxing goal, but I mean, I don't really care about that, to be honest. It's like that's just the excuse, like, so that I do this, right? I'm actually enjoying the training. Like that's fun, man. The training, the eating, the watching my progress. That the journey is like really fun for me.
Hmm.
And the end goal is like, if I have a fight, whatever, it's cool. But the journey was really fun. It should be fun, easy and fun.
That's cool. So I guess to just start wrapping up things. So I want to be a little bit more mindful on what I'm eating and how I think about food. So I guess something fun is like, what's a little snack or food that you guys recommend to
Greek
try?
yogurt,
Yeah.
Greek
Yeah.
yogurt.
Oh,
Put
dude,
some
there's
almonds in it.
yeah. I'll send you one that's so good. Like my kid loves it. It's like the yo plate, some glass one. It's really good. Um, and then like I told you, dude, like the grilled chicken, grilled fish, and the grill. Oh, man, it's so
So
good.
so what's a combination with your grilled chicken, for example, that you
Oh,
do?
I'll put like some onions and some zucchini and grill that too. I just throw everything in the grill, and then I watch TV, and it's all just grilling. And
And
then I eat it,
then
and it's like, ooh, so good.
and do you have a side with that or
Yeah, the vegetables. Oh,
the
beans,
veggies?
like this was said. I always have beans all the time, like with every meal, because it's you cook it in bulk and it's so easy.
Okay. And for a snack, what do you recommend? That's like
I
just Greek
I
yogurt.
recommend try not to snack. reduce snacks if you can, but if you must, then like apples are really filling. Apples. So I have a fucking tub of limon, dude. Like I brought limon juice and salt. Oh, dude, it's fucking delicious, man. You cut up the apple, put el limon way and some salt.
Oh,
Fuck, dude, it's
okay.
good, man. Or jicama, that shit's
It's
good
making
too.
my mouth water, dude.
That's hilarious. So, Carlos, aside from the Greek yogurt, actually, you know what? Greek yogurt. When I remember when I
Wait,
was
what
like,
do you like, Kozer?
I like Greek yogurt. It's so funny. I was just gonna mention that. Like, when I started working out, and there was a moment when I was like, I need to eat a little bit healthier. It was like the first 2 weeks. Then
Yeah.
after that, I remembered what my dad said. So I was like, I'll eat whatever. But anyways, I discovered Greek yogurt, and I would get Greek yogurt with a banana and granola. But then I removed the granola and just eat it with the banana, and it's so good. It's like that's like
Hoser, I don't know if you remember, but one time you saw me.
cottage cheese. That was gross. That was goes with the cottage cheese. Yes, I
It was
remember.
cottage cheese, fruit, and you're like,
That's the gross. Every time I see cottage cheese, I remember that day we were at the cafeteria, and I had my little breakfast sandwich with bacon and egg and meat, and then Carlos with his little cottage cheese and fruit, and I was like, "That's the grossest thing I've ever seen, dude." He's like,
Yeah, dude,
"What?
what the fuck is wrong with you, man? Cottage cheese, that's just nasty.
That's
it's
gross."
got a lot of protein. It's got a lot of protein and fats that are okay.
Oh, Jose, you know one snack that I got into that because of my kid. So he loves edamame.
Okay.
And it's pretty easy to cook. Like you can cook it in 3 minutes. Do you just boil it or whatever? But they sell it dried too. I didn't know this. I started buying like dried edamame. Oh, dude, it's so good, man. And it's so high in protein and like the taste is really good.
Nice.
It tastes like chips.
Okay. So I don't know. I don't know yet. Then what I'm gonna try, but I know the Greek yogurt. I gotta bring it back. But I like the idea of going around the supermarket.
All right, let's recap. So, yeah, don't go when you're hungry. Go
Don't go
after
when you're
you
hungry.
ate, and then stick to the outer perimeter
Mm-hmm.
when you buy shit.
Right, and then
It's
food
gonna
is
be more
toxic.
expensive, but it should even out because you're gonna try to eat less,
Yeah,
right?
and no, food is toxic. Be aware of that. So be mindful of how you eat, and then the portion size. Right, you guys.
Portion size. Get good sleep because then that also makes bad choices. Exercise, and then make it very easy. Like for example, my kid loves watermelon and melon. And I used to like buy it, the whole one. But man, that shit was like so much work. I had to fucking cut it, and then I have to wash dishes, and so I just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna pay a little bit more, and I'm gonna buy the one that's already cut up. It's easy. I just buy it. And it's like, start eating."
Yeah, Hoser, I also like once again want to offer you my services because you're such a good friend. You don't even have to think about it, dude. I'll give you an ingredient list, I'll give you a recipe list, and I'll prod you every now and then to see how you're doing. So you'll
Yeah,
feel a little bit
I want that
accountable.
shit. I want it too. How do I get this?
You too, man. Like I've offered my services to you too, and the runt who shall not be named, who is not here. And
Um,
Okay,
you've
well, I
all,
want to take you up on it. So how do we make this happen? Send it to me.
let's just meet. Let's just meet. Like we meet. You tell me your favorite protein sources, your ideal weight, how many times a week you want to cook, and that's it. I'll give you an ingredient list, and I'll give you a recipe list so that you cook in bulk.
Okay. Pues right after this podcast is done, you'll give it to me.
okay.
Well, it takes some time. Like it
Oh,
takes like at least half an hour. I need to like iterate with it until it gives me what I want.
okay. All right, well, I'll send you the stuff you asked for. So it was like, what are
Yeah.
my favorite foods?
Yeah, and I guarantee you the same day you start implementing it, you'll feel different.
You heard it
You're
here
gonna
first, folks.
Guarantee results or your money back.
Your money back.
Yeah.
Look at that. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much. This was a good conversation. I mean, we went for like an hour, so this is really good. Again, guys, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys. And then, I'm gonna start. I don't know. I'm a little bit motivated now. So thank you. So it's good.
That's good.
All right. So that's it. We'll see you all next time. And then with the next topic. All right. All right, everyone. We'll catch you all later. See you guys.
Bye.
Take it easy.
Peace.
Peace.